like to move over to you, Karthik. What is your mission? What are you most passionate about, and which role do you think the network can play for you?
Thanks, Yonja. In fact, I might sound a bit patronizing, but I think most of the initiatives and the amazing work which you guys are talking about, I think to help you scale, I think AI could be a potential answer. And the reason I say that is because to answer the other question, so I personally feel very strongly about how AI is already shaping our current life all around us. I'm sure you have experienced whether it's driverless cars or autonomous robots, drones, and whatnot. Even in current COVID crisis, some of the top companies who are coming up with solutions, whether it's based on your cuff or scanning your chest or even clinical trials for the new drugs, the modeling is done using advanced AI and ML techniques, right? Even if you talk about issues like gender equality or the big problems, right, which are the UN Sustainability Development Goals, 17 of them, poverty, hunger, education, healthcare, to democratize it at scale, AI has been used or AI has been looked upon even at the UN forum as a potent tool to sort of use it, right? Even in India and other parts of the world, AI and IoT enabled smart cities are seen as the future way of living, which is more sustainable, more environment friendly. And all sounds very interesting and good, but at the same time, what I really want to focus on, and which is my personal mission as well, is to also talk about some issues when we are imagining a AI-propelled future, which is things like AI-related ethics and bias. Right, bias can creep in through data or through developer. I mean, going a bit technical, right? But in both cases, I mean, you might recollect one of the incident in US which happened, I think 2017, where the soap dispenser uh, was only dispensing soap to a certain people of a certain color, right? And people thought that it's a racist soap dispenser, but it was using a photo sensor. It was not. It was using a photo sensor. It should have used a motion sensor. So these kind of issues can create a havoc if we are not able to address these issues at the root cause, right? Even when we talk about smart cities and how AI or even blockchain, one of my co-panelists talked about, when these or even connected devices, right, which everybody is talking about, when these things operate at scale, we are concentrating and connecting more and more, hardwares and software. But in this process, we are also concentrating risk. So, somebody for a few minutes hacks the entire city. What would that work like, right? I mean, we only used to see it in sci-fi movies, but from traffic to electricity to water, everything could be hacked from by a click of a button by somebody. How do we solve that problem? A wealth inequality, which is a big problem not only for the bottom billion or bottom 2 billion, as the economists say, but even in all the countries, wealth inequality is becoming a huge issue, which is going to become more and more prevalent. When monopolistic organizations are going to use AI and they are going to, use it at their will. So how do we control that? How do we ensure that the communities which people like N are building, startup entrepreneurs, SMEs, how do they get a say in the economy when there would be large companies who would be monopolizing these emerging tech? So how we can reduce barriers to entry for them? Gender bias is a major issue when we are talking about AI-related systems. You might be aware of how recruitment systems in many Fortune 500 companies that use AI and chatbots at scale have embedded, bias around certain gender stereotypes. So how do we solve that? You might be aware of, or you might have read about this robot, right? Sophia, a humanoid, which was granted the citizenship of Saudi Arabia. Now, it was a PR, right? But what does that translate into on an actual operational level, right? Does she have a passport? When she travels, she's disassembled, right? And she gets reassembled. Does she have any rights? If she hits somebody, can I sue her in a court of law? I mean, these are all questions nobody has answers to. And Google and certain organizations you would be aware of, they created ethics institute or to study some of these causes, and they wound up in few months, and no sustained dialogue is happening on these issues. Nobody is even talking about, if we talk about COVID, for example, right? A lot of companies have come up with AI related tool testing. But what happens if it's a case of false positive or false negative? Who's going to be responsible? Will the company take the ownership, or will the AI system be responsible, or will be the person who's distributing it or doing the diagnostic? So I think that responsibility, accountability, bias, ethics, inequality, these conversations are tough conversations, and sometimes in the awe and glory of I think these get missed out. So these are very personally very important to me, that we should have a forum to discuss them. Even to the point of Darshan about job losses or how AI is going to create more mesh. I mean, I would also want to counter that at a time where unemployment is at all-time high across the world, AI is probably one of the only industries in which there are more vacancies, but we are not able to find suitable people to fill in those roles. So it's one industry which has got a lot of openings available, but lack of a skilled manpower. So coming on to the second point, Yoncha, what I expect from this community, the way I understand is the mission of Horasis is towards sustainability, principle, leadership, and community building. And I think categorically in all those three areas, we talked about how UN SDGs can be solved using AI, but we need to be cognizant of issues of ethics and bias. When we talk about principle, leadership, and governance, we are aware of how blockchain and AI is being used in countries like Estonia, for example, to create a more transparent governance and more principled leadership. How that model can be scaled up into other countries. I know the scale is pretty small for a country like Estonia, but how it can work in a country like India, that's something I'm very passionate about, and I lean on to the support of the community. And also, last but not the least, I think I find so many like-minded people who can add diversity to these conversations and make sure that the community which we are building in the future, which is going to be AI driven, is is more inclusive. So I think that's the key part for me, that whatever solutions we are looking at in the future are more inclusive and are not discriminatory in any way to any part of the community or gender or demographic. So that's something which I really look forward to learning from all of you and the larger community at Horace.
Thank you very much. And last but not least,